Hello, my name is Quentin Merritt. I'm a mathematician and a physicist here, a double major, and I also just won the most prestigious award in the country to pursue research at any institution I want, the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship. So I think I'm pretty, qualified to say that most of what you're saying is based on, old data. But my question to you, and so I want you all to realize that.
Last month, but sure.
For example, gender identity disorder, that's the DSM-4, bro. We use the DSM-5 now for psychologists to be able to talk about...
I literally cited the DSM-5 in the speech, and it's called gender dysphoria, which is a term that I use throughout the speech, not gender identity disorder.
You sound like a bozo, bro. And you get no and you can't even make your wife, bro, so what's good?
So, let me just say, the nice thing about having several small children is I don't feel the necessity to have my masculinity challenged by someone like you.
We're using a Western colonial idea of gender, then why should it apply? If we're using, because the gender binary is a Western colonialist framework of gender.
You're right. Men and women don't exist in any other culture.
No. Think about Native American.
Nailed it.
Third gender people. I'm not saying that. Third gender people exist in Native American societies, Western African societies, like Southern Native American societies, like Mexico. So in other places that are not white dominated,
and
like the United States or Europe. And so you're saying white, so non-white people. I'm a mathematician and a physicist. Okay. You cannot tell me.
So I have a question.
And also, you're not a biologist.
So I have a question.
I'm 20.
As a mathematician and a physicist, what in the hell do you know about human biology?
And you got your law degree from Harvard. What do you know about biology? You got your law degree from Harvard.
And frankly, I would ask another question. If your logic is so flawed as a mathematician and a physicist, I would suggest that whichever institution gave you an award, revoke it immediately.
Shapiro dismantles the argument effortlessly.
Hey, I really wanted to thank you for coming out today and specifically for talking to those who have different viewpoints than your own. I'm not looking to argue with you. I just want to know about the ideology as to why you think that a woman shouldn't have the right to her own bodily autonomy in regards to
a woman should have the right to her own bodily autonomy, but not to another human. But as far as the idea that I'm sitting awake at night thinking, how do I control women's bodies? No, not really, not at all, actually. The thing that I do care about is the preservation of human lives. I don't have an argument that pro-choicers are ignoring a premise. That's fine. You're allowed to ignore a premise or think a premise that I'm giving is wrong. Well, it turns out that the vast majority of women for literally all of human existence have engaged in childbearing and rearing, and it has not, in fact, ruined their lives. In fact, married women with children are, by poll data, the happiest women in America.
All right, thank you for the straw man fallacy. Thank you.
I missed what she actually said. What was it? Straw man?
Straw man fallacy, I think.
You can't just shout straw man and run away. Do you want to come back and explain why it was a straw man, or no? Okay, you're just going to run away.
She bailed when logic wasn't on her side.
You have claimed that you oppose medical transitioning for these children, namely and specifically to what normally happens is puberty blockers, which you have called you called it child. Is that correct?
It is. That's correct.
You consider it okay. You consider it child. You consider it child because you believe that a child is not capable of consenting to what you consider are irreversible procedures. Is that correct?
A damaging, irreversible procedure.
Damaging. Okay. Ben, are your children circumcised? Did you circumcise your children?
Yes, I have two sons and they're both circumcised.
Why would you do that? Isn't that kind of hypocritical?
Nope, I'm circumcised. My works just fine.
Why is violating the bodily autonomy of an infant acceptable to you? And I can say, I'm a owner, and I can tell you, there's sensitivity right there, Ben, that is removed when you do a circumcision. Why is that okay to you?
Well, I don't mean to get personal, but I'm sure it doesn't seem like you could possibly have a basis for comparison. You can't be both circumcised and uncircumcised. You're going to have to choose. As far as the efficacy of a once it's circumcised, if you wish to get into the biology, I'm perfectly happy to just point at my 4 children. I've been fruitful and I've multiplied. It's all working out just great. As for the notion that it is a grave violation of bodily autonomy, I can tell you there are millions of men across time who've been circumcised. This is not a quote-unquote damaging procedure in the same way that, taking a boy and shooting him full of estrogen so you can later cut off his and is. That's an absurd comparison on every level.
That comparison didn't stand a chance. Ben shut it down immediately.
Do you have friends whose grandparents were Holocaust survivors or anything like that?
Of course, many of them.
Their families are kind of messed up, right?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, if you go through a trauma like the Holocaust, I would imagine it would have
They
impact.
teach that trauma trauma between generations. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, trauma very often in a lot of circumstances is passed down. I mean, I know some kids of Holocaust survivors who turned out fantastic and some who didn't. I mean, that's
Yeah. Okay. So you are officially woke. That is what wokeness is about. It's like, oh my God, bro. You know, people's grandparents or their great-grandparents were slaves.
Well, it's okay. No, it's okay.
I'm talking.
Guys, I actually want to hear. I want to hear.
No, this
it's
guy,
okay. It's okay.
I
I want to hear.
me.
Let's at least hear the argument. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Go.
What? He wants to hear me.
I do want to hear it. It's fine. Let him go. Let's hear it.
Come on. I just, you know,
So
I'm talking.
explain how that's woke.
So, I mean,
The whole thing is like, let's see. So during
Woke guy tried, but ended up digging a hole.
Silent Cal, Calvin Coolidge's administration. Do you know about like the Great Mississippi Flood back in the 1930s?
I understand that American history is filled with racial evil.
Yeah. And that causes some intergenerational trauma, which affects people's ability to be
So let me
things like that.
Fine. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why? So if the idea is that history has consequences, of course that's true. That's not wokeness.
Yeah.
That is not wokeness. What wokeness suggests is that fundamental institutions in American society
it
are
doesn't.
Yes, it 100% does.
I ran Elizabeth Warren's campaign. I helped organize her volunteers around here. I am a representative of wokeness.
Okay. Well,
and that's just, this is all it is.
Well, I mean,
you know,
I hope
when I went to go get my first tattoo, the guy had lightning bolts and 88s tattooed on his neck. And as a Jewish person, that's really messed up. It's basically a threat.
There are racist people who exist. The argument that you're making, and I'm going to close with this because this is going in weird directions, and I don't really want to.
No, it's not going in a weird direction.
Just hold up a second. I let you get out your arguments, and now it's time for me to respond because I let you say the full argument.
Okay, I'll let you respond, but
no, not but. Now's my turn.
You are not characterizing what I'm saying accurately.
Now it's my turn. Your definition is inaccurate. The reason your definition is inaccurate is because any sentient human being would acknowledge that history has consequences.
Right.
But if the idea is, but that's not what wokeism is. Wokeism is a different thing. Wokeism suggests that all inequalities of today are attributable to not only historic injustices, but also continuing injustices in the now, and that all disparity is attributable to discrimination.
Like that, but a
not just that. Not just that.
A conservative is the only person. I want to know why. Why is it that conservatives are the only people who define it like that? Why are conservatives the only people?
Okay, so if the idea is that traumas of the past invariably bleed down into the present, that does not explain why certain groups that have been historically not only marginalized but slaughtered in mass genocide are some of the most successful groups in our society. So if the idea is... If the idea is that past trauma always equals current inequality, or that my actions in, say, robbing a convenience store are attributable to bad actions that happened in Alabama in 1930, the answer to that is no. Don't rob the convenience store. The only way that you're going to be able to break the chain of history is to make good decisions. What people on the left don't like to talk about is actual solutions. What they like to do is bitch about problems that existed 60 years ago and blame those for failures to solve them now.
Ben destroyed the victimhood argument, showing that success today isn't explained by past trauma.
So the idea that suicidality is directly a result of people like me saying, no, men are not women and women are not men, it's not true. It's also...
So you think it doesn't impact their identity at all, or their depression, or how they feel about themselves?
I think the idea that you're going to sacrifice the entire society's proper definition of sex because you think that there is in legal terms, somebody with an eggshell skull, meaning that somebody who has a pre-existing condition that makes them more susceptible to criticism, that is not a way to run a society. You can't sacrifice truth because some people are going to actually suffer because of the truth. Plus, there's no evidence whatsoever that the suicide rate would go down in the transgender community in any marked way if people just started pretending that men were women and women were men. We're trying that experiment now. We'll find out whether it works. So far, no.
Sacrificing truth for comfort isn't progress. It's a dangerous game.
You mentioned Leah Thomas. I mean, that race where Leah Thomas is 2 pool lengths ahead of all of the women. People are like, this is an amazing female performance. This is just incredible. It's like the same thing happening right here. I mean, you watch this particular video, and at the beginning, the male is not on the screen. You're like, where's the dude? And then the male comes on the screen. That's
yeah, for sure.
I mean, the very, very tall human who's significantly taller and stronger than everybody else out there.
Yeah.
And that person apparently put this in their college reel. Really? He put it in his college reel. Because it's a high school thing. I think that they were trying. This person was trying to apply for a female scholarship at a college and put it in their highlight reel, just spiking a ball directly into the face of a woman, which normally would be classified as some form of abuse, is now apparently athletic prowess. So I mean, it's not.
This isn't about athletic prowess. It's about fairness. So that's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights and entertainment.